So last week we began talking about the nevuah that it says regarding lost lavai that which we daven every day for shiva shafteni kvarishena v'yayteni kvatchila in connection with the mitzvah of shoftim v'shaytim titin lacha, which is a mitzvah sasem in Atayra. And what we discussed last week was that the Rambam says that this nevuah of which comes from Yeshaya, of Shiva Shaftayach Kvarishena V'yitzach Vatchila, when is the fulfillment of that nevuah going to happen? When are we, got it?
This one.
When are we going to have a Sanhedrin again, of real smuchim, people that have smicha from Moshe Rabbeinu, Ishmi Piyashim from Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Rambam says that takes place before Moshiach comes. Brings a raya from the Seder of the Lashon HaPasuk in Yeshaya, that even before Moshiach arrives, there's going to be a Bezdin, a Sanhedrin of Smuchim. The big question becomes, how do you get Smicha? Since Smicha was interrupted, so how do you get Smicha restarted again? So the Rambam is Machadish that as long as you have all the Chachamim in Eretz Yisrael in agreement that they want to give Smicha to one individual, you can restart Smicha. So Rambam's Chiddush in Pirush Mishnayos. In Sefer Hayad, the Rambam repeats this Chiddush, but here the Rambam tones it down. He concludes, V'hadava tzarech hachra. It's still sort of he's still doubtful whether this is acceptable or not, whether you can restart smicha or not. Why is the Rambam doubtful? So the Radvaz, we learned last week, says because there are a few different options to explain how smicha will come back to Klal Yisrael, even without saying that you can restart smicha just by getting the agreement of everybody to restart smicha. There are other options, and the Radvaz gives three options. Option one, he says, Eliyahu Navi. Eliyahu Navi will come and give smicha. He was a musmach. He got smicha from Achia Shilaini, and he will give smicha to somebody, and then you can give smicha to all the Chachamim and bring back Sanhedrin. Second option, he says, B'nai Reuven. B'nai Reuven, I'll read soon the Zayar. There's B'nai Reuven that will come before Moshiach, it says. They have smicha. We know that the Aseres HaShvatim that are separated from Klal Yisrael, and they went into Golus during the time of the first Beis HaMikdash, they have amongst them smicha. To Al Yem Hazeh, they still, wherever they are, they're Makayim. Correct, great question. They are Makayim the, whatever, all the dinim of Smicha, dinim nefashis, everything that there is, and they're Makayim. So, B'nai Reuven will come before Mashiach, and they will give Smicha. Third option, the Rambam says, the Radvaz says, Mashiach will come in two stages. He brings from the Medrash that Mashiach will come, he will be concealed, and then it'll be revealed again. When it'll come the first time, Moshiach will give smicha. Some reason, somehow, the Radvaz holds Moshiach will have the koach to give smicha. How and why? The Rebbe here in the Sikha says tzarech yin. Where does Radvaz take this from? How does Moshiach have the koach to give smicha? This is what the Radvaz said. Moshiach will come the first time. He'll give smicha to a bezdin, or smicha to one individual, which then can give smicha to a bezdin. He'll be concealed, and then when he'll come back the second time to be revealed forever, there will already be a bezdin of smuchim. Second shot, a third shot of the Radvaz. Okay, so before I go further, discussing a little bit more these three pshatim the Radvaz says, and there's a ha'ara here of the Sichim, page 105 in Chelik Test. I had the copies last week, I lost the copies, you'll forgive me. But before I go further, I want to share with you a very interesting thing when you get to this concept of smicha b'zman hazeh, or smicha after zman ha'gemara, which the Rebbe spoke about in a Fabrengen of Parshas Bereshis, Tavshim Mem Hey. What happened was, at earlier Fabrengen, the Rebbe pointed out that in the Bezdin of the Riv, they would blow shofar even on Shabbos. Shoshana Shechali is b'Shabbos, in the Bezdin of the Riv, they would blow shofar even on Shabbos. And then the Rebbe said that it's possible that the Bezdin of the Riv was also Mekadesh the Chodesh al Pi Re'iyah, not al Pi Cheshbon. So they asked the Rebbe, they wrote into the Rebbe, people asked the Rebbe, that in order to be Mekadesh the Bezdin al Pi Re'iyah, you have to have smicha. And it's mashma from the Gemara pretty clearly.
They have two different calendars then, no?
That what?
The calendar would eventually differ than the rest of Klal Yisrael.
Chayre, yes. We'll get to one in just a second. Yes, correct. So the question they asked the Rebbe was that the Gemara says that after the time of Abaye v'Rava, smicha ended. So what does it mean that in the Bezdin of the Rif, they were Mekadesh Chodesh al Pi Re'iyah, and they had smicha? How is that possible? So the Rebbe answered a very amazing thing. The Rebbe said as follows, and this is the point that you said, and the Rebbe says as a B'chlal, this whole idea, the smicha was interrupted in Klal Yisrael, is a big pella. And there's a huge discussion in many svarim about the history of this. How did this happen? That smicha got interrupted. Such an important thing. And the Rebbe says, to give smicha is a mitzvah saseh. Sheftim v'sheitrim titin l'cha. Part of the mitzvah saseh of sheftim v'sheitrim titin l'cha is not only to appoint sheftim that is, but to give smicha to individuals so you have people that are fit to be sheftim.
You have the
So,
power of
yeah.
being the proper
So it's a mitzvah to give smicha. And the Rebbe brings a Gemara in Sanhedrin where you see that Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava had Nesiris Nefesh to give people smicha. When there was a gzeira that you're not allowed to give any smicha, he went between mountains and he gave smicha to 4 chachamim. There's a whole story the Gemara says.
By the Romans or something.
Yes. So the idea of smicha and giving smicha is obviously a pillar in Klal Yisrael. I mean, this is what we rely on to have the smicha from Moshe Rabbeinu and the Bezdin could continue. So how could have it happened that the smicha stopped? And there were so many chachamim in different places in Eretz Yisrael where they could have given smicha. So you only need one person that's a musmach to give smicha to the next person. He could be mitzaref to himself and other 2 people that did not have smicha. So you just need one person to give smicha. So how and when did the smicha disappear? And how? So look, the pashtus that everyone always explains is, well, there were gzeiros against smicha, and there were all kinds of things that eventually it stopped. But the Rebbe doesn't accept that. Not only that, the Rebbe says that it's mistaber to say that smicha, to some extent, it continued even after the Zman HaGemara. And the interruption of smicha didn't happen from one generation to the next, that all of a sudden, boom, smicha ended. It doesn't make sense to say that, the Rebbe says. Rather, the way it went was, the Rebbe says, is the war gzeiros, and therefore, at a certain point, the Bezdin HaGodel, which was in Yerushalayim, or the general Bezdin that was Mekadesh L'Chodesh Al Pi Re'iyah, and it was Smuchim, that everybody knew that we relied on them as the Bezdin HaGodel, that stopped at a certain point. That stopped in the Zman HaGemara, when there were still people living in Yidden that were living in Eretz Yisrael, and there was smicha, there was a big bezdin that was called a bezdin HaGadol. That stopped Taki B'zman HaBaya V'Rava, like the Gemara says. But that doesn't mean that there weren't individuals that continued having smicha later on. Even if there wasn't a central bezdin, there was a bezdin HaGadol that all of Klal Yisrael relied on, the Rebbe says there had to have been individuals that got smicha. That had smicha, they did it b'tzimna, privately, they were afraid of the goyim. There had to have been people that had smicha later privately. And therefore, what ended up happening is that once you have smicha, there's a mitzvah to be mekadosh HaChodesh Al Pi Re'iyah. There's a mitzvah to give smicha, and if you have smicha, then there's a mitzvah to be mekadosh HaChodesh Al Pi Re'iyah. On the other hand, other individuals that don't have the access to these people that have the smicha have no choice, and they have to be mekadosh HaChodesh Al Pi Cheshbon, without doing it with the Pi Re'iyah Salavanim. No choice, they don't know. So the Rebbe says there was definitely a tkufa in Klal Yisrael where the majority of Klal Yisrael was doing the Kiddush HaChodesh Al Pi Cheshbon, and then there was a minority, there was certain individuals that had smicha, and they wore Mekadosh HaChodesh Al Pi Re'iyah. And their Kiddush HaChodesh may have differed from the Kiddush HaChodesh that there was Al Pi Cheshbon. It wasn't the same.
Wouldn't you find it historically that these Kehillos...
So the Rebbe brings that in the Geniza in Mitzrayim, there was found a whole back and forth that there was a big machlokes in the Zman of the Goyim between the Rasag and a fellow by the name of Ben Meir that lived in Yerushalayim. That the Rasag had one cheshbon. He was the cheshbon that there was a certain, the Rebbe brings the number which year it was. There was a certain year that there was a big suffix what the kviyas of the year is. The Rasag held one way and Ben Meir held another way.
And Ben Meir was doing it according to...
The Rebbe doesn't say that befedish, but there was a big machlokes, and it's very possible that the reason is because Ben Meir had smicha and he had Al Pi Re'iyah. He had a certain Kabbalah, right? But eventually Ben Meir gave in to the Rasag, and he didn't, he backed away, right? But the Rebbe says, you find this in the Geniza of Mitzrayim, and then the Rebbe says, the fact that you don't find any history of these machlokes in that there were individuals that made Kiddush HaChodesh Al Pi Cheshbon, and there were individuals that did still have smicha, there were packets of people that had smicha, they did Cheshbon Al Pi Re'iyah. The Rebbe says, what happened was as follows. Why that eventually the smicha did stop? Why did it stop? Because for a few reasons. First of all, it's not such an easy thing to be Mekadosh Chodesh Al Pi Re'iyah. It's a big tircha. You have to have 3 smuchim, and then you have to have Eidim that see the Chodesh, and then you have to be Chayke v'Dodesh them, and you have to know how to do it. There's a lot of things that go into being Mekadosh Chodesh Al Pi Re'iyah. So it's not so simple. That's number one. So the tircha b'dover, and to be able to do it properly Al Pi Halacha itself is a hardship. But besides that, the Rebbe says, since Reiv of Klal Yisrael did not have access to this smicha, and Reiv of Klal Yisrael was being noyeg al pi cheshbon, so those minority of people that did do the kviyas achedesh al pi re'iyah eventually saw that the Klal Yisrael is becoming divided into two groups. The majority is doing al pi cheshbon, and then there's individuals like the Rebbe says, the Rif and his Bezdin, and possibly some other individuals are doing it al pi re'iyah. No, but they went to Eretz Yisrael, they traveled to Eretz Yisrael and they came back, the Rebbe says.
Every month?
No. As long as you get smicha in Eretz Yisrael, you could be Kadosh Chodesh al pi re'iyah. The smicha has to be in Eretz Yisrael, it's the only thing. So therefore the Rebbe says there's a lav of Leisis Gaidedu. Leisis Gaidedu, the Gemara learns us, Leitasa Agudis Agudis. Klal Yisrael shouldn't turn into groups and groups of people, that people do different things. So therefore the minority of people that still had smicha, and had the possibility to do the Kiddush HaChedesh al pi re'iyah, stopped doing it al pi re'iyah because this lav of Leisis Gaidedu overrides the mitzvah that they had to do smicha. To be Mekadosh HaChedesh al pi re'iyah, that is. So therefore, eventually, because of the two things, the tircha, to do it al pi re'iyah, and also the lav of Leisis Gaidedu, eventually it dissipated, it stopped. But it didn't, the way that I put it is...
It doesn't mean that smicha stopped. Smicha can still continue for the same...
eventually though, once they stopped being Mekadosh Chodesh al pi re'iyah, so then eventually it did stop.
But how do you know that today there's not people that have it as well?
Well, we know. There's nobody living today that's telling you...
Because there are reasons there was no Yidden there. With baby days, no Yidden there.
Yeah, there are always a few, I think.
Well, that's also true.
At the end of the Ga'inim, through the Rishonim, there was no Yidden there.
The early Rishonim started coming back. The Ramban made a big shturm about the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. He came back to Seif Yom of Eretz Yisrael. Other Rishonim. Yeah, there was definitely a long period of time where there were no
But the Rif had it, and the Rif was a Rishon.
Correct.
So, for the same argument, you could have it.
Okay. In the time of the Rif, there was no Yidden there.
Good, but the Rebbe Tain is that the Rif had a bezin of smuchim. It's a big chiddush, but they said that the Rebbe Tain is with Hatkifas, that the Rif had a bezin of smuchim.
How do we know that he
Which
did
means
this?
that this Indian of smicha was this battle achar zman.
On Shabbos.
So now let's come back to the Radvaz. The first teretz of the Radvaz was that Eliyahu Navi will come. I'm just going to go in order of the Radvaz. He gave 3 terutzim how smicha will come back. The first teretz he says is Eliyahu Navi. Eliyahu Navi will give smicha. So I'm not going to go into the big discussion this week. We'll do it maybe 1 week separately. But there's a huge discussion about this teretz of the Radvaz. Will Eliyahu Navi taka have the possibility to give smicha? And the basis of the argument is many hold that Eliyahu Navi went up beside Shemaima, as it says in Nach, but he turned into a malach. He's not anymore a bus of Adam, so he can't give any smicha. Even if Eliyahu Navi will come back later, he will come back into a new guf of a bus of Adam, which didn't ever get smicha. So the smicha that he had from before doesn't count. And others disagree and say, no, Eliyahu Navi went up beside Shemaima with his guf, never lost the smicha, and he will have the ability to give smicha. There's a big discussion about this. Yes. That's one shaila regarding Eliyahu Navi. Is he a malach today? Is he not a malach? Another shaila about Eliyahu Navi is that Radvaz is writing with a pashtus that Eliyahu Navi is going to arrive before Moshiach comes, and he will therefore give smicha to whoever it is before Moshiach. But as we know, the Rambam in Hilchos Malachim in Perek Yud Beis says regarding Bias Eliyahu that it's not clear when he's going to come. It's possible he'll come before Moshiach. Possible he'll come after Moshiach. It's not a settled. According to the Rambam, it's not a clear-cut thing exactly when Eliyahu Navi is going to come. So according to the Rambam, you can't rely on Eliyahu Navi for giving smicha. So that's the short version of the story about Eliyahu Navi.
Come first.
Right. So Eliyahu Navi giving smicha is not such a pashta thing. Now, when you get to Bnei Ruvain, the big shaila is, and I mentioned it here last week. I don't think I ended up mentioning it, but Shmuel Salanter.
Yeah.
I showed you. Yeah. Shmuel Salanter asks, how could the Radvaz say Bnei Reuven are going to give smicha? And how could you say that Aseres HaShvatim have smicha? They're out of Eretz Yisrael for generations and generations. And the Gemara in Sanhedrin says that you must be in Eretz Yisrael for smicha. How could you have smicha outside of Eretz Yisrael? So, I saw a few different answers given for this. Number one answer I saw is, what's this thing that smicha has to be dafka in Eretz Yisrael? Doesn't say anywhere in the Torah that smicha has to be dafka in Eretz Yisrael. B'chlal we know mitzvahs hatluyas ba'aretz are in Eretz Yisrael. Maestris, Shemitah, Yovel, all the mitzvahs connected to what grows from the land. A mitzvah of smicha Smicha has nothing to do with the land. Why does smicha have to be done dafka in Eretz Yisrael? The answer is minat Torah it doesn't. The whole idea that smicha has to be done in Eretz Yisrael is a takanas chachamim. It's a takanas chachamim. That's where the center of Klal Yisrael was. They wanted it to remain there. They made a takana that smicha should be done in Eretz Yisrael. But minat Torah it doesn't have to be done in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore you could say one or two things. Either you could say that they have the koyach to disagree with the chachamim. The Chaseres HaShvatim are great people in their own right, and the Gemara I think brings it b'shem Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, that he said that they were masakin that tzmicha should be done only in Eretz Yisrael. They're chaylik. They disagree. Or you could say similar but a bit different. Not that they're chaylik and disagree. They never heard of this takana.
They're not under.
They were never part of this takana.
Right.
They were never makabel this takana. They're on the other side of the Sambatyon or wherever they are. They were never makabel this takana, and therefore they continue with their smicha and the dan din nefashos aliyim azeh. But the issue though is.
Do you know that the dan din nefashos?
That's what it says. Yeah.
Oh, it says that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's the famous story of the person that came from the Bnei from
The
the
Arachayim?
Akdomus, the mice with the Baal Akdomus that brought a person from the other side of the Sambatyon. Meir, I think his name was. Kopanim. So
That's another
the issue.
share. That's another share.
The issue. The whole Chaseres HaShvatim, exactly. If the whole Sambatyon story, the whole thing.
It's a big tiny out there by a chaver which was raising the Torah and
All right. No. Okay. Okay, for another day. The problem, though, is it doesn't fully answer the question. Even if you're going to say that Bnei Reuven never accepted the Takanas Chachamim, or that they disagree and whatever, but that's all good for the Bnei Reuven which are giving the smicha. But they're giving the smicha to whom? To us, and we have to accept the smicha. The mekabelim of the smicha, we are under the restriction of this Takanas Chachamim. Then in Chutz La'aretz there's no smicha. There's the saimich and there's the musmach. So for us, the Bnei Reuven cannot give any smicha. So it's very problematic to rely on the Bnei Reuven for smicha, even if beinam lebein atzmam they give smicha, but for us that doesn't really work. That's one problem. The other problem is
who said that they have to give it to us? Maybe they'll come back and it will come from them.
They'll be the musmachim. They'll become the new bezdin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could we accept their kiddush hachidish? Could we accept anything, any piskei dinner that they do?
It's a good story. Different minhagim. I don't know.
Okay, now let me see. I got right over here. Neich sent me, Rabbi Weinstein sent me the Zohar. Now the other big question about this Bnei Reuven story.
If we can't accept their smicha, then they come to our Yisrael and not give smicha because we halacha that we have it. If we're accepting them smicha and their kiddush hachidish, then we'll accept already the fact that they'll come to our Yisrael and they'll do the smicha.
No. Okay. The other thing over here is this whole thing that it says that Bnei Reuven are going to come before Moshiach. There are different people that I saw today that are mefakvik in this whole thing, whether it means kipshutai or it's just a medrash that should be taken shaloi kipshutai. Not pashut whether this means kipshutai. The marker of this over here, Neich sent me is a Zohar that says Omer Rab Shimon Zminun Inun Bnei Reuven la'agocha Trein Krovim begoyara. The descendants of Reuven are going to make two big wars in this world. I'm not going to read the whole thing inside, but basically the Zohar says the first war that they fought was when they came initially into Eretz Yisrael the first time. It says Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, which inherited their portion on the other side of the Yarden, but they came along with the Yidden to fight in Eretz Yisrael. That was the first time that Bnei Reuven made a big milchama. And then the second time it says they're going to come la'asad lavei zminin la'allah la'gacha kravim b'gayare kadisha in Yerushalayim a second time. This is the Zohar over here that says this. But there are many that say that this whole Indian does not mean kipshutei. It's not. It's a medrash, but it doesn't mean kipshutei. So when you get to this teretz of the Radvaz, it's a big question. Then what was the third teretz of the Radvaz? About smicha. Moshiach is going to give smicha. Okay. So what does the Radvaz rely on? The Radvaz relies on the fact that Moshiach is going to come. He's going to be concealed. And he's going to come back. Because again, remember the premise here. The premise is the Rambam says he has a raya from the order of the way the pasuk is written that smicha will come back before Mashiach. So if you're saying Mashiach will give smicha, how is that fulfilled? How does smicha come back before Mashiach? So the Radvaz says it means that smicha will come back before the second time Mashiach will be revealed. Mashiach will come one time and give smicha, then be concealed and come back a second time. So now the question also regarding this is this just some medrash? is this true Pi Halacha? This idea that Moshiach will come, be concealed, and come back and be revealed again? Is this, the Radvaz says that, it's a medrash. Is this something acceptable Pi Halacha? The Rambam doesn't bring it in Perek Yudalef of Hilchos Malachim when he talks about Moshiach. Not only that, the Rebbe over here in the Sikha says, when the Rambam talks about Moshiach, who does he prove? From whom does he prove the qualifications and how Moshiach's coming is going to happen? From Ben Koichva or Bar Koziba, right? Do we find such a thing by Bar Koichva that he came and he was concealed and he was revealed? So I'll read you what the Rebbe says over here. Ein la'achriach. You can't prove the Harambam Svirale that the Rambam's opinion is the Shasti Don Le Svirale, the Mashiach is Galavi Yisasar Achakach. That in our Gemara it does not hold to this idea that Mashiach will come and be concealed and be revealed again. It's never mentioned in Gemara. So maybe according to the Rambam, the Gemara doesn't hold to this. What would be the raya that the Gemara doesn't hold of this? Val derech, you can compare this to Rayasai, to the Rambam's raya. Don't think that Moshiach has to perform miracles. What's the raya? Because Rabbi Akiva considered Ben Kaziba to be Moshiach, and Ben Kaziba never performed any miracles. So you see that Moshiach doesn't have to perform any miracles. If so, say the same thing regarding this idea of Moshiach coming, being revealed and being concealed and revealing himself a second time. So the Rebbe concludes, no, this is not the case. Ki ben Kaziba nistater meshach zman b'mayres b'meshach mulchamtei. You do find by Ben Kaziba that during the battles that he fought, that he did hide for a period of time in caves. So this idea of him being revealed and fighting battles and being victorious in his battles and then hiding and then coming out again happened by Ben Kaziba. And, yeah, okay, that's the point that the Rebbe says over here. So it's interesting that the Rebbe over here is saying that al pi halacha, this idea that Moshiach will come, be concealed and then be revealed again is ois kalten al pi halacha, according to what the Rambam says.
Because he compares it to Bar Kochva.
Good, but say that. Ois gehalten, if you don't have a raya fakert, you don't have a raya saying it's not. Yeah. It's a very interesting thing. This whole ha'ara in the Sikha here falls into the Sikha out of the blue. Mamish, I mean, if you take a look, you'll open up page 105 in Chelik Tes, you'll see the whole ha'ara in the Sikha falls in out of the blue. This whole thing of Ein la'achrich, the Harambam, falls in out of the blue. There's no context over here in the Sikha that's discussing this. Upon him, this is a very interesting point.